Did you know there are quiet, almost invisible signs that often appear exactly 1 week before someone passes? Subtle changes that most families overlook until it's too late. A hospice nurse named Marlene once told me something that I've never forgotten. She said, "When death is a week away, it doesn't shout, it whispers." And over the years, sitting by hundreds of bedsides, she began noticing the same 3 whispers over and over again. The problem is, most families don't see them for what they are, not because they don't care, but because no one ever told them what to look for. One day, the person seems sleepy. The next, they stop asking for their favorite meal. Then, something shifts. And when the goodbye finally arrives, the family is left stunned, wondering if they missed the moment, if there was something they could have said or done differently. That's why this video exists, not to scare anyone, but to gently prepare those who are walking that final path with someone they love. If you're here right now, watching this, maybe you're already in that moment. Maybe you've noticed something is changing, and your heart is trying to catch up. If that's true, I want you to know this. You are not alone. Today, we're walking through the 3 quiet clues hospice nurses say almost always appear about a week before the end. These aren't dramatic medical emergencies. These are soft, strange, beautiful moments, easy to miss, but deeply meaningful if you know what to watch for. So please, stay until the end, because the 3rd sign is something nearly every nurse sees, but most families don't understand until it's too late. And if you've ever watched someone slip away and wondered if they were trying to say goodbye in their own way, this might give you the answer you never got. Where are you watching from tonight? If you've ever held someone's hand in their final days, or you're doing it right now, share your story in the comments. Or simply type "love" so others know they're not alone in this journey either. Because this space isn't just a video, it's a quiet room where all of us, for a moment, can feel a little more prepared and a little more connected. Let's begin. The first quiet clue, hospice nurses say, is something they call the settling. It's not a medical diagnosis or a formal condition. It's a feeling, a rhythm, a shift. And if you've ever sat beside someone near the end, you might have felt it too, even if you couldn't name it. One nurse described it like this: "It's as if the person begins making peace with their body, like they're no longer trying to fight, but just settling into what is." This can look different from person to person. For some, it begins with a change in sleep. They're awake less often, and when they are, their words come slower, their eyes stay closed longer. They stop asking what day it is. Meals lose importance. Sometimes they'll push a plate away after just 1 bite, not because they're stubborn, but because their body is gently letting go of hunger. Others will fold their hands over their chest more often. Their breathing slows, becomes rhythmic, even musical. And it's not dramatic. There's no panic, no alarms, just a soft stillness. If you've noticed your loved ones spending more time gazing at nothing, less time speaking, and even less reacting to the world around them, that could be the settling. But here's what most families don't realize. This phase isn't only physical, it's emotional too. Some people begin sorting through old memories, not out loud, but inwardly. You might see them blink more slowly or furrow their brow as if they're remembering something long forgotten. A few will whisper names from the past, not always full sentences, sometimes just a single word, a city, a date, a person. That's their way of revisiting chapters before closing the book. One woman told her nurse, "I feel like I'm packing a suitcase I won't take with me." That's what the settling is, a gradual spiritual unpacking. Now, if you're seeing this in someone you love, you might feel tempted to wake them more, feed them more, keep them alert, but sometimes what they really need is your presence. Sit beside them, hold their hand. You don't need to talk or fix or cheer up, just be there. And if you're watching right now and thinking, yes, this sounds familiar, let us know in the comments. Just type 1. It helps others feel seen, and it lets us know this message is reaching hearts that need it. Because the settling isn't the end, it's the beginning of goodbye, the body's quiet way of saying, I'm getting ready now. And as hard as that is to witness, there's something sacred in being able to recognize it. Because when you know it's happening, you stop waiting for a dramatic moment and start treasuring the still ones instead. You begin to notice the rise and fall of their chest, the curve of their smile, even if it's faint, the moments they squeeze your hand, even weakly. You learn to love more deeply, more slowly, and with less fear. That's the gift of the first clue. Not panic, but presence. The second clue, hospice nurses say, is something they call the farewell loop. It's a term they use when someone starts reaching out, not physically, but emotionally, to people they haven't spoken to in years, sometimes even decades. Old friends, distant relatives, people they lost contact with long ago. It's as if their heart has a list, and it's quietly checking off names, making peace before it's time to go. You might hear them bring up someone you haven't thought about in ages, like, I wonder where John ended up, or did I ever apologize to Mary for what I said at the wedding? And it might seem random, even out of place, but it's not. The brain and the heart work together at the end, scanning for unresolved threads. Not just regrets, but connections, relationships that mattered, conversations that were left unfinished. It doesn't always happen with words either. Some people, when they can no longer speak, will gesture toward old photographs, or smile suddenly at the mention of a name, or reach for a hand that isn't there. That's the loop. A loop of memories, emotions, ties, trying to find closure. And sometimes it's not about the people in their past. It's about you, the one still here. They may suddenly bring up something they never mentioned before. I always noticed how kind you were to your sister. Or, I want you to know I was proud of you, even if I didn't say it enough. These moments can feel like gifts, or they can feel like sharp, little surprises that leave you breathless. Either way, they're part of the loop. Part of the unspoken urge to tie up loose ends before letting go. And if your loved one is starting to have these moments, these unexpected bits of emotional clarity or longing, try not to change the subject. Try not to shut it down out of fear or discomfort. Lean in. Ask follow-ups. Hold the silence if needed. Because sometimes the loop only comes once. One nurse told us about a man who hadn't spoken to his estranged brother in 30 years. On his final Monday, he suddenly asked for his phone. His hands shook as he dialed, but when the line connected, all he said was, "I'm sorry I didn't call sooner." And then he hung up. That was it. Not dramatic, but enough. Enough to break the loop. If you're seeing something like this, names resurfacing, forgiveness being whispered, eyes tearing up at forgotten memories, you're not imagining things. It's a quiet farewell, a loop closing in its own gentle way. And if you've witnessed this with someone you love, let us know in the comments. Just type 2, because there's comfort in knowing you're not alone in this too. The farewell loop isn't about fixing the past. It's about making peace with it. And when you allow it, without judgment, without rushing, you give someone the rarest gift of all, a chance to go feeling whole. The third and final clue is silence. But not just any silence. It's a specific, sacred kind of quiet that enters the room like a soft tide. Hospice nurses often call it the stillness. It's when the person stops asking for updates, stops checking the clock, stops needing noise in the background. It's not because they're tired, although they might be. It's because something in them has shifted. The outside world begins to fade, and their attention turns inward. If you've ever walked into a room and just felt something had changed, not in a scary way, but in a still, almost reverent way, you felt the stillness. It might show up in small moments. They stare at the ceiling, not really seeing it. They no longer respond to TV shows they used to love, or they smile softly at nothing in particular. One nurse said it best. It's like they've stepped onto a platform, waiting for a train only they can see. And this doesn't mean they're giving up. It means they're getting ready. It's the quiet before the departure, the soul beginning to turn toward home. And what's most heartbreaking, and also most beautiful, is how many families miss this clue. They rush to fill the silence. They turn up the volume, bring in distractions, try to cheer them up. But what the person needs isn't noise, it's presence. It's someone who can sit beside them in that stillness without fear. Someone who can hold their hand without needing to fill the space with words. One nurse told me about a woman who had been silent for hours, barely moving. Her daughter sat beside her, holding her hand, not saying a word. Then suddenly, the woman opened her eyes and whispered, "It's okay now. You can let me go." That was all. No long goodbye, no dramatic moment, just peace. If your loved one has grown quiet, if they've stopped engaging like they used to, and they seem content just being, don't panic. Don't push. That stillness might be their final message, that they're ready. And if this hits close to home, just type 3 in the comments, because someone out there is reading, and they need to know they're not the only one sitting in that kind of quiet. The truth is, we often think we need to do something at the end, but sometimes the most powerful gift you can give is your presence. No fixing, no solving, just being there, in the quiet, as they begin their journey home. So if someone you love is showing even one of these signs, the sleep, the sudden clarity, or the stillness, don't wait for the right time to say what's in your heart. This might be the time. Sit with them. Hold their hand. Let them feel your love without needing to explain it. Because in the end, it's not the words we say that matter most. It's the presence we offer when there's nothing left to say. If this touched something in you, leave a comment. Say, "I'm here." Or tell us about someone you've loved and lost. And if you'd like to hear more stories like this, gentle, real, and full of heart, consider subscribing. Not for the numbers, but so we can keep having these quiet conversations, the ones that matter most.